Welcome to Whiskey's the Journey. My name is Peter Fastiano. Today is Monday. I have an in-depth, kind of, sort of whiskey review for you. If you saw my last week's Monday review, I did 3 Tamdhus, the cigar malt, the 21, and the 18. A month before that, I also did a First Friday Flight Fight of those 3 plus the 3 that are on the table today, the 12, the 15, and the batch strength, batch number 7. And I realized that I did not do like in-depth reviews of Tamdhu. So I wanted to take this opportunity over the past month and a half to just go through all of the Tamdhus and kind of give them a proper review. So if you are new here and you're not subscribed to the channel and you end up liking what I'm doing here, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Today I'm going to go over these 3, the 12, the 15, and the batch strength batch 7. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, I have a Patreon. The link to the Patreon is in the description. Just go ahead and click on that. I have multiple tiers to choose from. So today, again, I'm going to go over the 12. I'm going to nose it, taste it, talk about it a little bit, put a drop of water in it, and then revisit it after I do the same to the other 2. So I was in contact with Michael. He is a brand ambassador for Tamdhu. Gave me a couple of pieces of information about all 6 bottles. And the Tamdhu 12 seems to be the only one that is chill filtered. It's still natural color, but it does go through chill filtration. It's 43% ABV, and it uses a combination of first fill and second fill Oloroso, and all Tamdhus are 100% Oloroso matured. But they use a combination of American oak, American sherry oak, and European sherry oak. And this one looks like there's slightly more American sherry oak barrels being used rather than the European. I don't have a percentage, but there's more American oak here. So on the nose, the 12 has the most sherry forward notes of all the bottles, all 6 bottles that I reviewed. I mean, it really leans heavy into the red fruits, the dark raisin, a fig, a date, a plum. It's very sweet. And I'm noticing the more that I have these, the less of a chocolate orange note comes through. And that was significantly missing from my last week's review of the 18, the 21, and the cigar malt. I didn't pick up on the orange note like I did a month and a half ago when I did the First Friday Flight Fight, which is a little sad because I do like that citrus orange peel kind of note. This one is all red fruit forward and a little bit of that sweet dark raisin note. It's malty, it's vanilla, and it doesn't seem as rich, or it lacks a little bit of depth compared to all the others. I mean, it still smells fantastic. It just doesn't have those concentrated notes that the higher aged bottles do. Very narrow spectrum as notes and not as intense. So let's go ahead and get it on the palate and see what I think of it. Sweet, malty, chocolate, that Tootsie Roll note is there. High amounts of sherry. I would consider this one to be a sherry bomb. If you like sherry whiskeys, I think this would be right up your alley. Good vanilla. The viscosity is not really coating. I do get a little bit of oak, that barrel influence. It sinks down underneath the tongue. It rises up like a little bit of a barrel bitterness on the side of the tongue, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It doesn't reach the level where it's distracting. All around, I think it is well balanced. Well, I can't really say balanced because it really does lean heavy into those sherry notes, but everything else is good. The malt, the chocolate, that Tootsie Roll note. I think the ABV being a little bit low does hurt this quite a bit. There's not a whole lot of viscosity on the palate. It doesn't sink or saturate or coat the tongue. There's really no weight to it. I would say that it's a little thin, but not as thin as some other whiskeys that I've had. Still very enjoyable, but I think it's just lacking a little bit of depth, whereas the others had it. So let me put a drop of water into this one and then move on to the 15. And if I haven't mentioned it already, this is a 750 milliliter bottle, and I ended up paying $67.97, and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, if you don't know. All right, moving on to the 15. The 15 was, I think, the very first Tamdhu that I ever had, and I was floored at how much I enjoyed it. Tamdhu, Macallan, Glenallachie, Bunnahabhain, all of those seem to be lumped into the same category. So when everyone really talks about a sherried single malt scotch, those usually come to mind. Right off the bat, much more balanced on the nose. The sherry notes have now taken a little bit of a back seat. They're not as intense, and it's come down to the same level as the chocolate, the malt, and the vanilla. This has a little bit of that orange citrus note, almost like you were to express orange oil over the top of a cocktail. It doesn't lean to a chocolate dipped orange, but there is a little bit of a orange citrus note, which is pretty, it's nice. I like that when it comes through, and it's on the 15. Let's go ahead and get it on the palate. A little more spice, a little more oak, that chocolate, vanilla, sherry note, all really well balanced. I think there's definitely more oak and more weight now on the tongue and on the sides. That citrus note is there, and it's slightly more bitter with that oak on the side. Still not a distraction, but it is good. Now, as far as the stats on this one, 46% ABV, natural color, non-chill filtered. It's a 50-50 split of American sherry and European oak. So American oak sherry and European oak sherry. Also, 750 milliliter bottle, and it's $139.99, or at least it was when I purchased it. I think it might be a little bit more now in Phoenix, maybe like $10 to $20 more. That finish is rather long compared to the 12. I think you're getting more balance. There's more depth, there's more weight, more viscosity. Overall, I think it's a better experience with a much longer finish that hits the oak and sweet notes. This brand, of all of the single malts that I've ever tasted, I think comes across as the most malty of them all. And I don't know if that's just the distillate of Tamdhu coming through, if that's like a characteristic of their distillate, but I'm telling you, I really like that quite a bit. The notes that I'm getting on the 15, again, like I had mentioned, it's not much different than the 12, and it's really not much different from the others, but I've got to say it again, there is a little bit more of an orange citrus note in the 15 that I got in the others. So let me go ahead and move on to the batch 7 batch strength, which is 750 milliliter bottle. It's $114.99. It is 57.5% ABV. And I think the cigar malt from last week's video was also pretty high. And I think that those high intensity proof points also brought out a lot of that sherry note. This one uses a mixture of American and European sherry, but they also have various fills. So first fill, second fill. So the ABV is really stinging the nostrils here. I think there's more vibrancy of the sherry notes coming through without it being up over the top where I would classify it as a sherry bomb. And you know what? The orange citrus note is definitely in the batch 7. Strong on the Tootsie Roll, strong on the vanilla, strong on the malt. Not getting as much oak or oak spice that I got in the 15. But it is pretty intense. Let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Wow, okay, that ABV definitely does elevate the amount or the intensity of the flavors. I wouldn't say that there are any more or any less flavors than the 12 and the 15. They just seem to be a little bit more intense because of the ABV. I have that classic evaporation feeling on the tongue. Whenever there's a higher ABV, alcohol kind of, for me at least, tends to hit the tongue, wash across, and then evaporate and leave me with a little bit of a drying sensation. Inside of my lip and underneath my tongue is a little bit numb, a little bit dry, but the sherry note is really intense. Incredibly dark, sweet raisin, vanilla, chocolate. I would say there's a little bit more tobacco and leather in this one that I was getting And actually, I wasn't really getting those in the 12 and the 15 at all. So the range of notes, I think, is a little bit more expansive in the batch strength 7 rather than the 12 and the 15. And I like that. Just throwing it out there, I think in order that I like the 15, the batch strength 7, and then the 12. This does have some weight. It has viscosity. It has a little bit more of an expansive flavor profile. The ABV is definitely intense. That Tootsie Roll chocolate, vanilla, malt note is all there. But I think the ABV just might be a little bit out of whack or out of balance from the 15. But still delicious. Let me go ahead and get a drop of water in this one and then move back to the 12 with the water. If you have had any of these, any of the 6 that I have reviewed over the past 2 weeks, do me a favor, let me know what you think of them in the comments down below. All right, so on the water with the 12, has thinned it out even more. The Tootsie Roll chocolate note is still here. I would still consider this to be a sherry bomb. All of those sherry notes are definitely coming through. That's the dominant note. I would say the malt and the vanilla is a little bit lower with the water, so it has kind of closed it up a little bit, and it's only letting the sherry notes come through. All right, let's get it on the palate, see what the water's done. Water brought out a little bit more spice. That's a good thing, but I think it has watered it down even more. It's flattened it out. There's really not much to it. It basically tastes like a watered down sherried single malt, exactly what you would expect it to taste like. I think that's what it is. I don't think water does it any favors. Already being at 43% ABV, water just dilutes it more and it thins it out even more. And yeah, I wouldn't drink this with water in it. I would just kind of keep it the way that it is. I like it. I'm going to put this at a 3.25. I think it's good, and I think it's a good representation of what a single malt scotch or a sherried single malt scotch is all about. It has its weaknesses, but 3.25, I believe, is a fair score. Now let's go ahead and move on to the 15 and see what the water has done to this one. Massive amounts of Tootsie Roll. There's really now a dominant chocolate note. I would say that the oak, spice, so there's a little bit more of a cinnamon and maybe the fruit cake, those dried fruits that are in a fruit cake are here. Malty, vanilla, chocolate, maybe a little bit of tobacco and leather now is showing through with the water. That orange citrus note is completely gone, and it's just malt, chocolate, Tootsie Roll, a little bit of cinnamon, spice, and some red fruit. I really like the way this smells. Let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Again, with the water, I think there's more of a spicy component with the 15. The malt, the chocolate, the tobacco, leather, all of that's still there, just diminished a little bit. I would say adding that water brought it down to like the viscosity feeling or the weight on the tongue down to where the 12 was prior to adding the water to the 12. It's sweet and it's spice, and that's pretty much it. Again, I would say that the 15 does better without the water. I think the intensity of the notes without the water is where it's at with that. So another one, no surprise. I think not adding water to the 15 is going to be the way to go for me forward. As far as the score goes, I think it might be time to get a new bottle of the 15. I think I enjoyed it more when it was a little bit fuller than it is today. I think that might be hurting it a little bit. It's not as intense as I remember. It's still good, but I don't think it is as intense as it was maybe a year ago. So I'm going to throw this one at a 3.85. 3.85 is good. All right. Michael had mentioned that the 7 really, holy cow, that opened up a whole lot. I was looking at this. Michael B. mentioned, the brand ambassador mentioned that the 7, the batch 7 really sings with a drop of water. And based on that first nosing of it with the water, I'm shocked. Tootsie Roll, that orange note is now really dominant. I would say it's a little bit more orange forward than it is sherry, which is strange. spicy. Those red fruits in a Christmas cake, very cinnamon forward. That's almost a completely different nose with the water. That's crazy. Let's see if that translates to the palate. Cheers. Boy, that is really interesting. The orange note with the water has now become one of the dominant notes. It's much more spicy. The red fruits that are in a fruitcake, the cinnamon, the oak. This is completely different on the palate with the water than it was on the palate without water. That's crazy how much this has changed. I don't know if I like it more or less with the water, just because it's completely different. I mean, all those notes are still there, but it's weird that it has shifted more towards cinnamon, more towards the red fruit. The orange note is now dominant over the sherry. Interesting. Yeah, I think Michael might be onto something here. Wow, okay. That kind of messes up with what I was going to score this. Because this is so different with and without water, that's interesting enough. The overall experience is elevated. I think the intensity of the ABV is still kind of there with the amount of water that I added. I think this acts really well with and without water. I'm going to put this, actually, I'm going to put this above the 15. I'm going to put this at a 4. I think this is very interesting. I like how that malt note is still there. That orange note now is in here, and I love that. Tootsie Roll, chocolate, vanilla, malt. Yeah, all that's here. That's good. I enjoy that one quite a bit. That's where I'm going to leave it today. Wherever you're at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it, and we'll talk to everybody later. Bye.